And for people in the room, we're going to do the chant that we've been doing recently, and it's page 20, I think it's page 30, thank you, in the chant book. And for those of you online, we've been putting it into the chat. You can open that up, the suffusion with the divine abidings or the four quarters chant. We'll do that in just a minute or two when we begin. And maybe while we're waiting for everyone to get settled, both online and here in our room at the City Center, just a reminder, if those of you here in the building notice, we have a big table in the middle of the lobby because we're having a community potluck, and just our way of experimenting with re-inhabiting our community space here in Minneapolis. And those of you online, fortunately, Yen Kuei and Lucy are going to be helping facilitate a potluck online, eating your lunch together online. So you'll find that link on our public calendar. So just go to our website, look for the calendar, look for today, look for 12 o'clock noon, and you'll see the link, the event for the online potluck. And of course, everyone's invited to either stay for this potluck or join the online potluck at 12 noon. So let's settle in and let's begin our time together doing this chant, this suffusion with the divine abidings. And remember, when we say to ourselves and out loud together, I will abide with this heart imbued with loving kindness, it's kind of a confidence move. Like even if the heart's not really there yet, we're drawing on that sense that this heart is actually capable of being friendly, of being kind, and I intend to abide with kindness, with loving kindness. And then we move on to compassion, gladness, appreciative joy, and equanimity. So do that together, page 30 for those of you in the room, if you don't know the words. Now let us make the four boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth. So above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with compassion. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with passion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with gladness, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with equanimity, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself, I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. We'll take some time. We'll settle into comfortable, relatively still, relatively comfortable, at ease posture, doing the best we can in a chair, on the floor, eyes open, eyes closed. Taking the time to fill and empty the lungs a few times. And to do that in a way that invites a sense of safety and ease, trusting this experience of sitting now as best you can. The sense of belonging here, right in the middle of our lives, exploring in a way that feels safe, the dropping, the putting down of fear, of the more subtle layers of defensiveness, the subtle ways we might be gripping and tensing. Maybe it's okay to soften. It's for each of us to explore. Maybe it's okay to relax. Maybe it's okay to allow these conditions that I'm sensitive to right now. Maybe it's okay to allow these conditions to be the way they are. And we're not imposing a certainty, we're exploring. If in fact right now it is appropriate, it is safe to soften some and to put down what can be put down. Unnecessary mental activity that's not really serving this intention to be at ease. And here, right in the middle of our community, online community, in-person community, let's take some time and just draw on the support of being here together. All of us doing our best to inhabit the quality of this sitting body, qualities of this sitting body, qualities of our feeling heart now. All that's moving here in our lives, all that we can feel coming and going here and now. And just being grateful that we can do this opening, which in a way is a very personal practice, but we can do it together here. For such a long, long time, we have relied on distraction and obsession, the various habits of the mind to plan and worry and imagine and problem solve. We've used all this mental activity, maybe ironically, to cultivate safety. As if running here and there, thinking about this and that, really leads to a dependable quality of safety. So we begin our meditation practice going a different direction. This willingness to establish, to rely on present moment awareness here and now with the conditions as they are in the body, in our surroundings, qualities of our heart, qualities of the mind, the thoughts, mental activity. And we're exploring that question. Maybe it's okay, safe enough to be open, to be feeling what we're feeling, to be undefended. Maybe it's okay to relax and simply allow everything to move and be what it is, feel the way it feels. And the first quality of ease that we can begin to sense is the ease of our mind, heart not being dependent on distraction. And of course, we could think about this or that in all of our habitual ways, but maybe sensing now that I don't have to, I can just be open, be exposed to what's coming and going, what's being felt. There's this possibility of being undefended and, in a sense, real. And this is what we mean, the Buddha's first instruction that we've been studying, coming from this very famous set of instructions, the Anapanasati discourse on mindfulness of breathing. The first instruction is to establish mindfulness right here and now. right in the middle, forefront, to remember this way of being, like to value being open, to value this recognition of the present moment, that it's like this now. And then he invites us to use the ordinary physicality of breathing in and breathing out to bring a more exclusive attention to this natural process of breathing in and breathing out as a way of realizing that I don't have to be pulled in all the directions my habits pull the mind, to think about this, to worry about that, to plan, to doubt, to compare, to problem solve, to imagine. Those impulses, of course, are going to be there because they're habits. But awareness can recognize those impulses to think about this or that, and can choose instead to keep that ordinary physicality of breathing in and breathing out in mind. And we don't need to have any particular kind of in-breath or out-breath. Just trust the body to do the breathing, whatever that's like. And learn that it's possible to simply track or keep in mind this physicality of breathing in from the beginning to the end. And then that process of breathing out from the beginning until the end. And to be willing to begin again and again. And to realize it really helps to be relaxed. It can't be forced. We're cultivating a new habit. You could call it this habit of keeping this exclusive aspect of our present moment experience in mind, this breathing process. Learning how to be interested in something ordinary to the exclusion of everything else that the mind might be interested in. So it's a real training. And part of this instruction is to recognize how the breath becomes more refined as everything settles down, and how the breath becomes more gross when our mind is more distracted, more caught in its habits, because that's an important barometer to appreciate that process of refinement in the breathing process and the pleasure that goes with that refinement of breathing. But we can't force the breath to find. It's just a natural process that we recognize. Learning how to bring this exclusive, intimate, relaxed attention to something really ordinary, the physicality of breathing in, the physicality of breathing out. Just see what happens. Notice the inner quality of the heart and mind as you get a little momentum. And remember to sense the refinement and any subtle inner pleasure that comes with this increasing simplicity of the heart and mind. And you can continue with this initial instruction to use the exclusive activity of breathing in and breathing out as your meditation anchor. And cultivate that ability to keep it in mind with patience and persistence and relaxation. And notice how the mind and body becomes more refined. The breath becomes more refined as you get some momentum, some continuity. But the next instruction is just to begin to sense that you can let go of the exclusive attention to the breath. It's still there, in a sense, in the background. But practice experiencing the whole body as you breathe in, and experiencing the whole body as you breathe out. And don't let the attention just go to the places where there's pain in the body. But cultivate this capacity to be intimate, sensitive to the totality, the physicality of the body. Breathing in, sensitive to the whole body, just as it is. While breathing out, sensitive to the whole body. Letting it be just as it is. So taking up this training if it feels time. Allowing the breathing process to be natural. You don't need to make it any particular way. Cultivating, embracing, fearless, opening to the whole body with the in and out breaths each time. A big, loving yes to the body as you breathe in, and then a big, loving yes to the whole body as you breathe out. And right with that willingness to connect, to be intimate with the whole body as you're breathing in and breathing out, it will naturally have a healing effect, healing the relationship between the body and the mind. And this will begin to be experienced as a bodily well-being, sense of bodily calm or tranquility. And so, however, wherever you initially sense that bodily well-being, that inner calm in the body. Let that be the object of awareness as you're breathing in, that bodily calm, sensing the bodily calm as you breathe out, keeping that bodily well-being, that bodily calm in mind as you breathe in and breathe out, and allow it to deepen and spread. We're not getting rid of the painful sensations in the body, but we're healing the way the mind knows the body, the way the mind relates to the body. And we can feel that healing as a kind of bodily well-being, calm, tranquility. So we're specifically not tuning into the painful places in the body, but we're sensitive to that inner calm in the body with the in-breaths, with each out-breath. We're keeping that bodily calm in mind. Experiencing the body, sensation, without any need for mental resistance, mental control, mental judgment. This is the bodily well-being we're talking about. And this healing of the body and the mind, this bodily well-being, naturally leads to being able to recognize that buoyant quality of mental joy, a lightness of the heart, an unburdened heart. Heart's not weighed down, feels light and open. Now, of course, this experience of joy can be initially subtle, but the Buddha asks us while breathing in, keep in mind this quality of inner joy. While breathing out, keeping in mind this experience of inner joy, this upliftment, buoyancy, lightness of the heart. Just do the best you can for the last few minutes of our sitting time, keeping joy in mind as you're breathing in, keeping that light, buoyant heart in mind as you breathe out. And we'll discover that it isn't always easy to keep something subtle in mind. The grosser nature of our thoughts about this and that will draw the attention. So there's a lot of renunciation, a lot of beginning again and again, breathing in and learning to be interested in that subtle lightness of the heart and how to keep it in mind, to not forget it through one inhalation and then through one exhalation. So take a moment, adjust the body so you're comfortable. Nice to be back. Maybe I'll give the folks online a quick view of the in-person community here. So you might have seen the emails that we were just encouraging our local community to explore their willingness to re-inhabit the space, see what that might feel like. So it's really nice to have more people here for this time. Yeah, and I thought today I would talk about the connection between the experience of safety, like do we feel safe in a room together, and just generally our relationship to safety, and as a human being, have we learned how to use safety as a necessary, really unavoidable medicine. Like we have to, in any ways, any number of ways that we can access some sense of safety, we need to use that because the mind naturally opens, the mind is more naturally interested when we feel safe, and the mind naturally closes and becomes defensive when we feel unsafe. And the whole spiritual process, and probably we could say just the whole of being a functional, useful human being, depends on that capacity to connect and observe and be sensitive, to be interested. So if we're always in a state of fear, if we're always closing down, tightening up, it really restricts our ability to walk the spiritual path and to be just a decent human being. And probably, it's not the only way to be an unskillful or even a really harmful human being, but clearly all of us in our own little ways, big ways, we've experienced that when we're really afraid, when we're really shut down, we could do despicable things, say things that we wouldn't otherwise say. And then the other extreme, like those times when we do feel really loved and safe and like we belong, it's so easy to be generous and kind and sensitive to what's going on around us. It's not like hard work when we're feeling loved and like we belong, and yeah. So then it makes a lot of sense because, whether we know it or not, we're constructing states of insecurity. Insecurity just doesn't fall down upon us from up there, or rise up from below. The mind is participating. So when we're in a really extreme state of insecurity, of fear, the mind is involved in that subjective experience of fear. And when we're in a more open state, feeling a lot of trust and safety and a willingness to relax, the mind is involved in that. Is part of the construction of those states of fear and non-fear. And in our more simplistic moments, it really disempowers us, but our tendency in our more distracted, habit-bound moments is to project that the cause of my safety or security or insecurity and danger is external. That I'm just a victim of my conditions or circumstances, and there's really nothing for me to do. And now clearly external circumstances have a role to play, as does our internal understanding. And the Buddha talks about, you could understand the Eightfold Path. Some of you know the Buddha divides up the path in 8 steps, or you can think of it in 3 steps. It's a little simpler to remember. And the 3 steps, of course, include the 8 steps. But you can think of these 3 ways of, these 3 aspects of the spiritual path in terms of safety. So the first is this capacity we have to train ourselves to harmonize by valuing non-harming. So this is that moral sensitivity, sila is the Pali word, this integrity around the value of non-harming, this caring and interest about non-harming, harmonizing. How can I live as if everybody belongs, everybody matters, as opposed to like, I just got to take care of myself. It's up to you to take care of yourself, as if we live in disconnected ways. And so sila, this moral sensitivity, it never ends. It's never like, okay, I'm good enough. It's an impossible puzzle, but that willingness to be sensitive to our mutuality, right, it's actually in the direction of safety. Thinking that I get to be a part, that what's happening around me doesn't matter, what's happening to you or them doesn't matter, actually makes us insecure. And you could just check that out. Like in those places where your mind has created a clear boundary, these people are on the outside, these people are on the inside. We get insecure because we've got to defend the arbitrariness of that boundary. And we're insecure about all the ways that boundary doesn't make sense. So we choose to be unconscious, which is indefensible and stressful. Because if we were more awake, we would see and feel that those boundaries don't make sense in the way the mind's constructed them. So one way to just start looking in our lives, like to get interested in safety as a kind of spiritual, really a medicine on all levels, just for our well-being on all levels. We need to be better at accessing a sense of inner safety. And one of the most direct and immediate ways to sense safety is to put energy into harmonizing with our communities, with those around us. I mean, just a silly, simple example. I mean, it's not really silly, but you go home and you have a couple quality moments with your cat or dog or lizard or whatever it is for you, or your neighbor's kid or your partner or whatever, and you harmonize with another living being. And what is the actual pragmatic effect on our mind when we do that? When we take a few minutes to have a silly conversation about the weather with our neighbor. We don't really care that much about the weather. It's just a way of expressing to each other we care about each other, right? And we feel a little better. We feel that sense of belonging, that sense of safety, just in that simple way. Or we take care of something. I was walking here this morning, one of the big orange cones, because they've been drilling, I don't know what it is, if it's a cable company or whatever it is, they're digging into the street and they make these kind of big potholes and they put a little orange cone so you don't ruin your suspension driving over it. And one had fallen over, so I just picked it up. There's just that little way of harmonizing with the community that lives here. Like, I can do this. I can walk 20 feet out of my way, bend over, pick this cone up. And it's just so easy to see the other impulses in the mind. Well, that trash is somebody else's responsibility, or, that's not my job. I don't want to touch things. We have this fear that's still reverberating from the COVID times about exposure in all the little and big ways, like picking up trash. And it's totally within our rights to live with fear, to cultivate fear. We cultivate fear by noticing and highlighting things we could be afraid of. And that's good medicine too. Like, it's a useful skill to have that discriminating wisdom that senses danger, right? We don't want to lose that. It's just a matter of balance. Is our mind, our sensitivity, just as attuned to ways of harmonizing with the environment, relaxing and attuning and responding in a way that arises from being connected, from being open, from caring about what's going on around us. And we could say, well, it's the world I live in isn't safe. But it might actually, there may be ways to balance these two sensitivities about real danger and ways to harmonize, ways to care, ways to belong. And that's really the spiritual work of sila, this moral sensitivity. Because being morally sensitive, not wanting to harm, also includes ourselves. So we wouldn't, strangely, weirdly expose ourselves because we're attuning to the wider needs. Why would we neglect our own need for safety? Right? It's a kind of generic caring, which involves us, right? We're not outside of that radiance of care, of wanting to harmonize. So we also want to harmonize with our own natural desire to survive and not be harmed, not be hurt. So that helps us with this trap that we sometimes wrongly think that it's an either or. Either I care about the community or I'm going to care about myself. And we might just want to see if that's actually, that division is actually needed. Sometimes we care about what's here and, right here, me, this body, this mind. Sometimes we care about what's really close. Sometimes we care about the whole of our planet. And maybe the heart can find its way without that having to be a cognitive decision even. Like, let's just see how this plays out. Oh, look at this. Right now, I'm tucking myself into bed. Or right now, I'm contributing to the wider community. Maybe it isn't something to figure out. It's an aspiration or a wholesome intention that we cultivate because it feels right, that wanting to harmonize, that deep if we cultivate it, it becomes a very deep, powerful desire to not contribute to harm in any little or big way for ourselves or others. There's enough suffering, so I don't want to contribute to more. Do I know how to do that? No. Am I okay? I have to be okay knowing that I don't know how to do that. That's what I mean, like, we work on the level of that intention, the purity of that intention, because it actually strengthens the humility. So then the way forward is just to be intimate, to be connected, to be attuned to this moment. And in some moments, that attunement will lead to us responding to our own needs. And in other moments, that attunement will lead to us responding to other people's needs, globally, locally, personally. The other way we can cultivate safety is our mind itself, the qualities of my mind, the qualities of my heart. Is it safe to be home? To be like in this environment of my own mind and heart. The mood, the qualities of this mind and heart. How might I cultivate a mind and heart that is really trustworthy? Just like in that first level of training, it's like, how do I cultivate relationships with it all my communities, all my relations? How do I cultivate relationships, a way of relating that leaves that sense of safety? Because I value harmonizing. Now, within this sort of more local environment of my own mind and heart, how can I cultivate a mind and heart I'm really happy to be in the middle of, to be with? And even if you don't have a clue, you didn't bump into somebody's teachings like the Buddhist teachings, even through trial and error, we would learn, this cultivates a mind that scares the hell out of me. So then I don't want to be home. So I become dependent on media, or I become dependent on this or that to dull me. So I don't really need to be home with this mind because it scares me, or I don't like it, or it's too dark, or it's too this, or it's too that. Well, what kind of mind have we bumped in? Like when we do the chant and the practice we did at the beginning, where we're, this heart is capable of goodness. When we feel that natural friendliness, that natural generosity of the heart, one of the things when we really take the time to notice it, those times when we're just spontaneously good and friendly, just in an ordinary sense, we'll notice like, I really trust this mind. I trust this quality of the heart and mind. I'm not afraid to inhabit, to feel into, to be with this mind, this heart. And so that's called samadhi. And we get better at it when we pay attention. This is a lot of our meditation work. Part of what we're cultivating with these 16 steps that we've been learning the last few months and continue when I'm giving the Sunday morning talks through the rest of the fall. I'm moving through, and by the way, in this document that I put in the chat, and let me just do it one more time for anybody who's come lately. And for all of you here in the room, if you just go to the calendar event for the Sunday morning program, this Google Doc, the link will be right there in the online calendar. And there's some resources where you can learn about these 16 steps and other related talks and articles that will just help you understand the different pieces, the different unfolding of this whole path. It's really these 16 instructions paint a powerful picture of the whole spiritual path. It's not just about paying attention to the breath. That's really more about the first couple instructions. Then the breath goes in the foreground. And it's really about understanding how safety and well-being allows the heart to open more and more, kind of go into new territory, see what it isn't seeing, and start to integrate those insights, that seeing what we haven't seen before. What allows us to see what we haven't seen before about our experience and about the nature of the mind? One way to answer that question is feeling safe. When we really feel safe, we either indulge in that safety, which is a setup, because generally the safety we're touching into will keep changing, will come and go. So indulging in it isn't helpful, but what is helpful is using the stability of that safety to be interested, to continue the process of waking up. Because then we keep learning, and one of the things we learn is what safety is more dependable than other experiences of safety. Like there is a certain safety in having a bigger car when you drive on the freeway. But it's a safety that comes with limitations. Like you need money to buy a bigger car generally, right? And there are all sorts of other consequences to having bigger cars. And it only really works when your bigger car is bigger than the other bigger cars. We did eventually buy a bigger car, Wynn and I, my partner and I. And Wynn is out taking the fall to take care of her mother in New Jersey. And so she drove the bigger car. But on the interstate driving out to the East Coast, there are a lot of very big cars on the interstate, the big semis, and so it's like, okay, we need a semi. So that we're not intimidated by the other semis, but we need a semi that's a little bigger and meaner looking, right? And that you see this is how it goes, in different ways. We like things, same with our homes, same with so many different things that are indestructible. So part of the whole spiritual process is realizing, not giving up or not imagining it doesn't matter, these more gross ways of feeling safe, but seeing the limitations and seeing that there's actually a more dependable safety, more reliable, less fragile, and then that we let go of because there's something even more, a safety that's even more refined, more dependable, less subject to coming and going. Until we get to this, in a sense, this ultimate safety. This is one of the articles I put in the collection that you have in that document is a wonderful article by Christina Feldman, one of our elders in the Western insight meditation tradition. The article is where to find joy and how to cultivate it. It's by Christina Feldman and Jaya Rudgard. And they quote from the Buddha from the Dhammapada. Abide in happiness free from hostility amongst those who are hostile. Abide in joyfulness free from distress amongst those who are miserable. Abide in happiness free from agitation and busyness in the midst of those who are busy. Joyfully we live, those who cling to nothing. So this is the joy of renunciation. I've been talking about this the last few weeks. Those who are new, you can go back to the previous talks either on our YouTube channel or on dharmaseed.org, where we keep all of the audio talks that have been recorded, or the YouTube channel where we have the video that's recorded. So you can always go back. But we're really moving in the direction of finding happiness and safety, not so much from what we have, but from what we've been able to let go of. So this brings us to this second place to find safety, samadhi. In a way, you could say all three of these parts of the path, moral sensitivity, we've learned to let go of acting out our grosser reactivity, like to hit or insult when we're hurt. You know, we realize that doesn't make me feel safe to hit back. I can hit back, I can insult people who have harmed me, but does that actually lead to a stable sense of well-being? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Because a spiritual seeker isn't looking for a quick fix. We're looking for something that resolves the anxiety, the uneasiness in our heart forever. I don't know about you, but I'm interested in that forever peace. Right? I've had enough of having a little peace only to have it snatched away when conditions change. You know, this is nice. And then a fly lands on the face. You know, or somebody starts to do something next door that makes a lot of noise, or whatever it might be. We've been really doing a lot of work over the ever since Common Ground left, where Wynn and I live. The original Common Ground for the first 15 years or so was about 7 blocks this way. And Wynn and I had a tiny little apartment. Wynn and I owned that building. And then Common Ground formed more formally as a nonprofit and raised some funds, and we were able to buy and renovate this building. Moved in about 15 years ago, not quite. And so we've been fixing up that building. And then just recently, the pitter-pat of rodents. You know, one of the things we did, we finished off the ceiling in the basement thinking that would be cool. But now we can't get, now the rodents have their own little highway between the floor on the first floor and the ceiling, the drywall ceiling in the basement. And we have no idea how they're getting in because it's all sealed off. And it's like this existential threat because I was relying on my house getting together, feeling safe, feeling, it's an old house, 1908, feeling like, okay, we've solved most of the problems. But do you ever solve all the problems in a place like no? There's always something. And it's interesting just how existential that threat is. Like that sort of panicked, I got to figure this out. We can't have mice. And every once in a while we get a really foul smell in the basement because of who knows what's going on. Probably a cat has injured, whatever the animal is. It may not be a mouse, it may be a chipmunk, who knows. But maybe some of them die in that space and then the smell leaks through, who knows. But we don't like humans, we don't like these mysteries. We want things sealed, That's why we have our perfect lawns and our gated communities and our big SUVs and our, waterproof phones and all these sort of things, as if we're going to defend ourselves against change and insecurity. So what the Buddha discovered is there's real freedom, real safety, and non-clinging. So the whole path is this path of the joy, the safety of non-clinging renunciation. So it's more about attuning to the happiness and the safety of what we've let go of. So when I've trained my mind that it doesn't have to act out the grosser responses, my sort of the way as an animal we are conditioned to fight back, eye for an eye kind of thing. Like, oh, I feel that conditioning is there, but I don't have to act it out. It's not that I can act it out, not that I haven't acted it out. We might be like really good at acting it out. Maybe you got trained as a martial artist or something like that, and you really would know what to do if ever that were the right kind of response. Because it might be. I'm not saying it's never the right response. I'm just saying a lot of the times it's not the right response in the sense of leading to more safety. And it's really nice to have the training. I don't have to act that out. I could, but I don't have to. I could really say something that would hurt this person, but I don't have to. So we're renouncing that grosser level of our conditioning, our habit energy. And we feel the happiness, the safety of harmonizing. Now with samadhi, we're renouncing something more subtle. We're renouncing the habit of distractedness, of being lost in thought. I could think about this right now. I could plan this. I could review for myself what the Buddha said, but I don't have to get lost in that thought or this pattern or that. I can just be in the bare presence of things as they are. Breathing in, breathing out, feeling the whole body, noticing the lightness of heart. Whatever it is we're aware of, it's in that inclusive space of the present moment. We're not going down one of those off-ramps into one of those habitual ways of thinking about this, which leads to the next thought and the next thought. And it could be quite a while before there's even a moment of awareness, oh, I've been lost in thought. When we're lost in thought, we're not aware that we're lost in thought. And that's where we spend most of our time. So the stability of present moment awareness, what we call samadhi, is the happiness and the safety of knowing, in a direct, immediate sense, knowing I could think about that. I could get lost in this way, lost in that way, absorbed in this way or that way. But I'm choosing to keep remembering the present moment, to keep connected with the space in which thoughts, sensations, sounds, and sights are coming and going. And the recognition, this is how it is now, the recognition of the present moment. So it doesn't mean exactly that there aren't thoughts. It means we're not lost in the thought, which means there's an awareness thoughts are being known. There's some of that present moment awareness that it's like this now. And the continuity of that. The continuity of not being distracted. That's the safety of samadhi. And it's real safety. Because when we have some semblance of samadhi, it's like that is the ultimate vigilance for a human being. And it's not tight, and it's not afraid, because being tight and afraid requires some thought, some construction that the mind is lost in, like I'm in danger. But to be really present, we're really connected, we're really sensitive, we're intimate. So actually we're in the best place to respond appropriately to whatever comes our way, internally, externally, because we're not distracted. There's no programmed construction of the mind that is distorting the mind's presence or intimacy. It's just intimacy and the stability of intimacy. That's what samadhi means. Non-distractedness, ongoing present moment awareness. And even the thought, I'm being present, is a slight distortion in being present. It's not required to have the idea of a somebody who's being present in order to be present. Because that natural sensitivity to what's coming and going, internally, externally, it's that without the mind taking any of the off-ramps, being deluded or distracted by any of the mental constructions. And it takes some training. And the flavor of samadhi is safety. I mean, that's one way to get to know it. Because when we have that samadhi, it's like, this is the place the heart belongs, because it feels safe. Like, this is a place where the heart knows its way, like knows what to do. Not because it has a plan in a conceptual sense, but because it's connected, intimate. Both the breadth and also the subtlety, depth of connection. Now, I won't have time to talk about the third part of the path. So we have sila, this moral sensitivity, which allows us to let go, be free of our grosser level of programming, like to want to hurt back when we're hurt. And this samadhi, where we're able to let go of distractedness, where the mind has trained itself not to be confused by its mental constructions. We can still think, we can still construct ideas and conceptual maps, but the mind has learned to see those mental constructions as something being known. It's just a thought, an idea being known. So it's not losing that sensitivity, that intimacy with the present moment. And then the third, wisdom, will pick up next. No, I won't be here. Shelley's giving the talk next Sunday. I'll be teaching on the West Coast. The following Sunday, 24th maybe? 25th? Something like that, maybe the 25th. I'll be back. I'll talk about that safety. And you'll see that the 16 steps that we've been learning, and that's one of the articles you can read, it really covers, you can see the whole spiritual path, whatever list or whatever particular set of teachings from the Buddha you're using, has just this progressive sensitivity to real safety, to real pleasure, to real happiness, to real peace. So whatever word you use, this is the way it actually works. And the Buddha just mapped out, articulated his own personal process that then generations of folks before us have heard, have put into practice and realized, oh yeah, this is a pretty good map. Because even though the Buddha articulated that a long time ago, 2,500 years ago, in a particular culture very different from ours, the map comes out of a depth of experience that it's not really bound by culture so much. So when we start paying attention to our own experience, we realize, oh my God, this is a good map. Because it really helps me understand my own direct experience. And what is onward leading to release and freedom, and what's onward leading to hell and difficult states of mind and unskillful ways of behaving in the world. So let's leave it here. We'll just take a moment, let go of the words. Take a breath or two together. Feeling at home in the present moment. And thanks again for coming, everyone. And just a few announcements. First, I normally don't have time for Q&A on Sunday mornings, but there are these small group discussions that I'll mention in just a moment. But I'm also really interested in getting your questions, so you can always send them to the center, and Robin will get them to me. And then I'll weave them into the future talks, or possibly respond directly to your email, depending. And also Sunday evening, for those who are local, there is time for community discussion. We have the same topic, the Sunday night program, 7 to 8:30, just in person, not online, but there is Q&A for those programs. And there's also a number of weekly practice check-ins. Win Fricky, my partner, and I, we do it every Sunday, 4:30 to 5:30. Everyone's invited. It's a guided sit, and then just a community Q&A time. And then on Tuesday at 12 noon, Stacy McClendon leads it. I join Stacy twice a month. I think it's the second and fourth Tuesday. But Stacy McClendon, one of our Dharma teachers, is there every Tuesday, 12 to 1. And Shelley does one on Friday morning at 9 a.m. And Ramesh Sairam, another one of our teachers, does it every third Saturday of the month at 10:30. So these are some places to bring up some of the questions that might be arising in your practice. And we have Kevin Griffin, a guest teacher, coming in a few weeks. Kevin's going to do a day-long retreat on the 24th on these instructions, the Buddhist instructions for mindfulness of breathing. And he's also going to do a half-day retreat for the Mindfulness and Recovery community on Sunday afternoon, the 25th. You can get more information on our calendar. Shelley's leading a day-long retreat next Saturday, 9 a.m., I think to noon or 1, I forget. That's the 17th, I guess. And there's 2 Introduction to Mindfulness classes. One began last Tuesday, led by Meski Mebatsian and myself, 7 to 8:30. There's 3 more. You're more than welcome to join in. And then starting the 4th of October, there's going to be an Introduction to Mindfulness meditation for anybody who identifies as a person of color or a BIPOC person. So join in for that. 6 Tuesdays beginning October 4th. You can register online. We're looking for folks to volunteer for our Sunday morning program, to be a program host, to help with the online community, the small groups, or in many other ways just to support. So just reach out to Robin in the office if you're interested in helping out in some way.